Hello, hello. It's JJ DiGeronimo here, and I am with my dear friend Sharon Ashcraft. I'm so excited to have her on the podcast because we have been doing some amazing conversations on the YouTube channel Together We Seek. And this is a really awesome topic. We're going to talk about flower essence. And this is part of a five-part series for healers, lightworkers, and mystics. It's remedies and ancient wisdom that we can use to fuel ourselves, to align our energy, to make sure that we're really taking care of ourselves through what we eat and what we take and what we pay attention to. So I'm super excited to share this episode with you because it's something that I hear intermittently, but I haven't really done an episode on flower essence. So, Sharon, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, I think we should just start with what are flower essence?
So, flower essences, it's another means of healing, just like we talked about before with the homeopathy and herbs and vitamins. Um, Flower essences are just another way of bringing the body into sync. And the actual flower essences were created by Dr. Edward Bach way back in somewhere around 1919. He's considered the founder of flower essences, and he didn't start out doing flower essences. He actually was a surgeon. He was a bacteriologist for 20 years. He studied the immune system. And then the more he researched, he saw a connection between the emotional side and the physical side, that if your emotions were out of sync, that it would make you physically ill. So he started researching that and kind of drew away from orthodox medicine. And the flower essences were formed that way. And basically, in a nutshell, flower essence is a vibrational healing. And we've talked about vibrational foods before. We know that everything has a vibration. And so this is energy vibrational healing.
So, I think I need to dig into this a little further. So, what part of the flower? So he's out and he has a flower garden, or what is he doing with flowers, and how does he know to integrate that with the human system?
Good question. So it's not actually any part of the flower. It's the essence. It's drawn from the dew or the essence, the water secretion of the flower that forms an imprint. And that imprint is what is treats the emotional side. And the way he studied it, he went into the fields. I think it was in London and Wales, someplace where he had access to all different types of plants and flowers. And what he would do is make himself emotionally feel or sick so that he could go out into the field, and literally he would put his hand over the different flowers until he knew intuitively that that specific flower would treat someone's emotional side. For instance, he realized that he was very observant, very intuitive, and he realized that if a plant had jagged edges, that it would help treat somebody on the emotional side who had a sharp tongue, who was, very maybe snappy towards people. So he really spent the rest of his life from 1919 on. He was born in 1886, and he passed early in life. He was, I think he passed in 1936. So he had a short life, but in that period of time, he created 7 nosodes, and then he created 38 different flower essences. So he accomplished quite a bit in a short period of time.
This is fascinating. Fascinating because I feel like we all have these gifts and they come out in the most unique ways. And I've mentioned and have talked to many light workers, healers, and mystics on this podcast, and it's sometimes fascinating what their gifts are. And I feel like flower essence, like the dew of flowers, and then you're basically pulling that in to regulate or balance the emotion. That is mind-boggling to me that that is someone's gift, but I believe it and I feel like it carries on today, right? So many people
Yes.
are still using flower essence.
And I have to tell you that 30 years ago, I did not believe this. I remember reading about it and I thought, I couldn't wrap my head around it. It's hard to accept something that you can't scientifically prove, or that you can't see the results, that some imprint of something would actually help the body. But I actually saw it firsthand because I had a dog, a husky, years ago. It was probably 25 years ago now, who did not like cats, and it was really disrupting the entire household. So I called Bach directly, and well, obviously not Dr. Bach, but the Bach Foundation, and told them the symptoms. You can do that, and they told me which essences to get, and they told me to put it in the water, and I did that, and it was like night and day. The dog started getting along with the cats, and one of our cat, this was an accidental thing because it was a community water bowl. So one of the cats who didn't get along with the other two cats actually started licking and being friendly to the other two, because it changed the cat's emotions. And we also had horses at the time. My daughter had PMU foals, and she wanted to learn to ride them. And we gave the horses the Bach remedies, and again, same thing. It was like night and day difference. And then fast forward to just a few years back, I'm sure you remember when my dearly beloved Andy husky passed away. He was 15 and a half. He had a partner, and that partner didn't do too well with it, and he wouldn't eat or drink. So once again, I called and I asked for some guidance, and they told me what ones to take, and they told me to rub it on his ears, rub it on his paws, because I couldn't get him to drink water. And within maybe 6 hours, he had gotten up, he started drinking water, he started eating. He was still, you could tell, depressed, but over a period of days, he got much better. So I definitely 100% believe it, because I've seen it work now.
Yes, yes, yes. That's so great. And just for those of you who don't know Sharon, Sharon and I have been friends since I've been 15 years old, and Sharon has spent most of her life working with vitamins, herbs, and natural supplements. So I feel like she has been such a gift to me because she has guided me so many times on my path with vitamins and herbs and other minerals and supplements that was able to really provide some that was really able to provide some great insight to where I was on my path. And so if Sharon told me that flower essences was the way to go, I would listen, because she has been in the industry for over 40 years and she knows so much about so many things. And I think visiting our YouTube channel, Together We Seek, and seeing the entire series that we've recorded for you on holistic ways and wellness strategies for healers, light workers, and mystics, and anyone really who's looking to really raise their frequency is so important. So, Sharon, back to flower essences. So, can you combine these with like other herbs and vitamins? Are they safe to take in combination?
You can. You can use this with any other holistic means that you want, if you're taking herbs or vitamins, if you're taking homeopathy, homeopathic remedies, it doesn't matter. They're very safe. They're safe for children. And you can also mix them. You don't have to just take one specific essence. You can mix up to 5. You just have to read the directions. It'll tell you how many drops per one to put into another dropper bottle, and then you will take that one. And I have an example of this, if you can see it. It's called the
Ooh.
Rescue Remedy. And that one is a combination of a few different ingredients, more than one essence. And this is the one, it'll say pet formula. It's the same type of thing that you can use for the pets if they're depressed, or a lot of dogs get upset for fireworks, things like that. You can use this flower essence. It works really, really well.
And have you used them on yourself or mostly your animals?
I've used it on myself when I have felt a lot of anxiety. That's what the
Mm.
rescue remedy is for. It's great for people who get anxiety, like when they travel, or if they have a tragedy in the family or something happens, and you really need to bring your emotions back to check quickly. The rescue remedy is definitely the place to go.
This is fascinating. And so, has anybody really picked up his research, or is this something that people use worldwide?
Oh, absolutely. It's used worldwide. There are other essence companies. There's another one called FES besides Bach. And there's other ones out there, but his company, the one that because he was the founder, um, the Bach company is very reputable, very held high in regard. All 38 essences, are available usually at most health food stores, I believe. Whole Foods carries them. A lot of different places will carry them. You can also get the rescue remedy in what they call a pastille. So it's like a kind of like a little gelatinous piece that you can put in your mouth and let it dissolve. And it has the same effect if you don't want to use a spray or a dropper bottle.
So we spoke of homeopathic,
Homeopathic remedies.
homopathy. We spoke of
Homeopathy,
homopathy last
right.
time.
Homeopathy, yeah, right. Or homeopathic remedies.
Yeah. So how does that, I mean, are those, they just have different sources essentially? So this is
Well,
strictly, yeah.
if you remember, the homeopathic remedy actually has some of uh, what the ingredient in it, and then it's just diluted far out. And the far out, the further it goes out, like if it's a 200C, that's the most potent one. Whereas the flower essence does not contain any of the actual plant or the flower; it's the imprint of it through the essence of the flower or the plant that really only works on the emotional side, and then from the emotion it helps bring the body physically in its proper state.
That is, I mean, really fascinating, isn't it?
It
I mean,
is.
how back in the early
Yeah.
1900s, he decides to get it. Anytime he has emotion, he goes out to this field and he feels around the flowers and he figures out what heals him. I
Well, he
just,
felt a vibration, a strong vibration. I mean, he definitely was an intuitive. He was a true healer. I mean, he had a gift. Um, we can't all just go out in the field and put our hand over something and feel warmth, or just intuitively know. I mean, he was so deep in thought with this that he left his practice, that he was a very lucrative practice. He left his practice, and for years up until his death, he treated people for free. He would work in the summer with these flowers and the essences, and then all winter long he would treat people with different various diseases.
people's gifts are just amazing. I feel like we each have gifts, and many of us, our gifts are still very buried. And just hearing
Yeah,
stories like this, I think are so just they're really fascinating, but they're also inspiring because some
very
of us,
inspiring.
yeah, may think our gifts are, the things that we're interested in. Remember, I mentioned the woman up in upstate New York, how much she loved lavenders, and now she has a lavender farm with over 2,000 lavender
Just see
plants.
that
And
site. It's beautiful.
yes, and so I think it's Bristol Farms up in upstate New
Yes,
York, and I feel
yes.
like whatever really calls you, you should lean into it, even if you can only do it a few hours a week, because you have gifts and tools and techniques that nobody else can do. And so this is such an inspiration for me to hear Bach's stories. So I have
I do
another
want to
question
mention
because,
one. I
yeah,
want to mention one thing though. So one thing of people always want to know how long will it take, till I notice a difference. So if for animals, it's pretty quick, like very quick, because they don't have any barriers. They don't have any thought pattern of trying to fight it, or do they believe it. It just works because it's supposed to. With humans, depending on your belief and how accepting you are of it, it can take up to 21 days. And that's for somebody who is really not a believer and they're struggling with it. It's still, the body will still work, on that emotional piece. And it'll come into harmony, but it can take up to 3 weeks for you to notice that you're in balance, back in balance again.
That's a great point because we have so much, right? So many layers in the human body and
Yes.
so much energy that we have to break through to sometimes really feel a difference.
Yes.
Hmm, that's powerful. So I have another question because people might say to me, well, isn't that the same as essential oils?
Oh, no, no. Essential oils are high concentrations of a specific plant or flower. It could be orange, it could be lavender essence. They are an essence. You'll say essential oils are an essence, but they are truly an oil and a high concentration of a plant. Like I said, lavender or peppermint. Whereas the Bach flower essences, they don't have like a pungent smell, they don't have a fragrant smell, they are just literally the water essences. They're usually all gathered on a sunny day very early in the morning when the dew is at its peak, the same as anybody would want to if they're making any kind of a flower tincture or a soap, any kind of thing that you're making. You always want to gather it. I remember Walida company saying that that's all they do. They gather all their calendula early in the morning, like at 4:34 in the morning, because the dew is at its peak. And so the essence of the flower, will be its strongest. So it would be the same thing with these flower essences. You want to make sure that, it's being gathered properly. It also comes into play if one person is doing it, the vibration of the person that's actually making the essence can affect the batch. So I guess you want to have a happy person doing it as well.
Yes, and you kind of underestimate the power of just nature and how much it can impact our emotions.
Absolutely.
We spend so much time inside and so much time in front of devices that there's so much value in just being outside and being one with nature. And I think that this is just an amazing reminder of like ways that we can really raise our vibration.
And that's the word vibration is what really is the most important thing to remember about flower essence, that it's an energy vibration and it's from the earth. It contains all the elements of the earth, the air, the water. Um, so that vibration is the healing element. And like I said, and this, we all have vibrations. Every single thing has a vibration. So this is just the essence vibration that helps the emotional side to heal the body.
I love this. So I just appreciate you joining us and talking about this. I feel like it's something you don't hear that much about. So the fact that you've given us some insight of just ways that you've already used Bach and the flower essences to help yourself, help your animals. And I love the fact that you can call the company,
Yes.
tell them the emotion you're dealing with, and ask them for advice. So when you think about maybe, is there a few flower essences that are more popular for people that are really working on frequency and healing others?
Not really, because everything is completely unique to each individual.
Mm,
So, like for instance, if somebody had like fears, different types of fears, always going down a rabbit hole, so to speak, they might want to take like agrimony or, there are different specific ones for that. But even if there's a chart, you can go online and look at a chart. So even within the chart, you can get specific, like what type of fear it is. So that way, out of the 38 essences, you'll know, okay, well, these three apply to me. So there isn't really any one specific. I mean, you hear a lot about maybe one or two, you hear more than the others, but they're all so different. And just like we are, everyone has their own
mm.
footprint, our own print. So this is very unique to each individual. So whatever it is that we need, and it can change. You could take a remedy for a couple of months and then realize, oh, I'm good with that. But all of a sudden you notice, now I feel like I need this. But many people never try them. Like we said, they use other forms, other modalities. They might just do the herbs, but there's no reason to not give it a try. Because if you think about it, we do know that if we are under a lot of stress and we're dwelling on different things, it does affect, we know that it affects the body. And the stress is an emotion or a reaction. So it makes sense that if we took something that would help relieve that stress or help take those fears or whatever it is that's causing it away, it would help heal the body. It all makes sense. It really does. It boils down to that energy and the vibration.
It does make sense. And I think this really increases our awareness of things that we can use. The whole series is so fantastic. I mean, we talked about minerals and vitamins, herbal supplements, homeopathy. Now we're talking about flower essence, and we're going to end on Ayurvedic medicine. So we really appreciate you joining us and just sharing these insights and clarity that you're providing on these different avenues that we can get to raise our frequency and heal the path to our soul. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It was very nice.
And thank you so much for everyone listening. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your week to take a listen and hear a little bit about different strategies you can use to raise your frequency. So until next time, we'll see you. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye.